What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're going to take a look at Elden Ring running on Boosteroid, and this happens to be on the PC app, and this is one of their install and play games, which is how they get a lot of the games here on the service. It's a little bit of extra steps, but it doesn't take too long, and you're able to get into your game. I'm going to show you those steps here. I'll cut through a couple of spots with logins and stuff, but for the most part, I'll show you the process here as it boots up the game. It tells you how to bring up the menu and toggle between full screen here with Alt and Enter. So once it gets past this page, it's going to take us to where we would log in with Steam here. I'm going to skip my login and just take us right to my library here. Now I'm going to scroll down to Elden Ring, and I'll be able to sync my cloud data right here. It tends to not automatically do that, but it does work once I click resync. And then everything's already installed, even though it says install and play. All I have to do really is click play. But I do want the in-game FPS counter, which you can do with your menu here before you launch any game if you'd like to, so you can see what your performance is doing. So let's go ahead and launch Elden Ring. We'll get into it here. It doesn't take very long. Again, I'll cut past this little initializing anti-cheat right here, and we'll get into the game and everything will be running really well. So the first thing I want to do, of course, is take a look at the settings and my internet connection, and then we'll talk about how the game's performing. So we're into Elden Ring here. Let's go ahead and get into the settings, and we're full screen 1080p with high settings across the board for the most part, with depth of field and motion blur turned off. And for the most part, that's pretty much what works well for me here. So let's go ahead and get into it and see what Elden Ring's looking like as we get into some gameplay. Now we're going to talk about the performance of Elden Ring here in just a minute, but I do want to touch on what my internet connection is like. I do have a 1 gig internet connection here, and I have a ping of 18 with 40 up, 926 down, and over on the Boosteroid site, that tests at 823 measured in 18 for my latency with an excellent connection there. So obviously I'm testing this under what would be considered the best circumstances pretty much that you could have. I'm fairly close to their new data center here on the East Coast in the US. So for me, the performance, the latency especially, even though the bitrate for 1080p is still much lower than I would like to see, latency stays really good in a lot of the games, and that holds true for Elden Ring. So as I run around here in the game, you can see what the quality's like. Now on YouTube, with their compression and other things involved here with making the video, I can't 100% show you what the picture quality's like on Boosteroid, but it's decent enough. It does have a lower bitrate than I would like to see. You will catch some blockiness and some stutters here and there, and it might not be as clean as you're used to if you're gaming at, say, 35 to 50 megabits per second versus maybe 10 to 15, which is what this tends to kind of feel like. But with that aside, it does stay fairly consistent. Stuttering in the game is at a minimal, and the performance as far as latency and input when playing the game and fighting or whatever the case may be is really good for Boosteroid. This is something that I was really happy to see. I've talked about it in other videos as well, that even though I do want to see an increased bitrate option so we can get a cleaner stream and smooth that thing out a little bit, I'm sure we'll see these kinds of things in the future, especially with their future upgrade plans. But besides that, I'm really happy to see that for the most part, we tend to get a decent enough stream for smoothness, and input latency always feels pretty good, and I don't have any complaints about a lot of floaty controls or issues with that you might be used to with cloud. For me here, it's pretty good, but you saw I am testing under really good circumstances when it comes to my connection. So cloud can always vary for everybody, but I like to show you the best I can here at what my tests are doing and give you all that information so you can decide if Boosteroid might be something for you. Now, as far as the game performance on its own, Elden Ring's kind of known to have some stutters and performance issues on PC, especially on cloud or virtual machines, but a lot of that has been smoothed out with some patches, and considering I'm running on high and I'm running in the cloud here, I'm not surprised to see a fairly decent 35 to 50 FPS as I play, and it feels really decent here. Even if I lowered the settings, I really wouldn't gain a lot. So the game's performance itself for being in the cloud is also pretty good, and I really can't complain. So Elden Ring on Boosteroid, for me, definitely a decent place to play the game. And if it's a place that you guys are interested in playing Elden Ring or other games, I'll have a code in the description that you can click on, a link to go sign up for Boosteroid. That'll tell them that GTP sent you, and they'll know where you came from. But for me, Elden Ring is running pretty decent here, and I've had the same kind of experience over and over here with Boosteroid in my videos as I talk to you guys about bitrate and latency, stream stuttering, and how games run themselves in the cloud. So anyways, I think Boosteroid's a good spot to play Elden Ring, guys. If you haven't already, subscribe, a thumbs up, ring the bell, leave me your comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one.